today. And that word is a broken, leaking woman. But your healing is locked up in your press. A broken, leaking woman. But your healing is locked up in your press. Well, God bless you. God bless you. There are three characters that I must look at. I must take a look. The first is the woman. The second is the crowd. The third is Jesus. So these are the three characters we're going to really take a close look at: the woman, the crowd, and Jesus. A broken, leaking woman, but your healing is locked up in your breast. Let's look at this woman very quickly. When we look at the text and we began this story, before the writer begins to speak of this woman, the writer begins to talk about Jairus, or Jairus, as some call him, had come and fell to his knees at the master's feet. Jesus is here in the city, in the town, passing through. And as he begins to pass through this city, this town, he begins to cause a crowd to form around him. As he is walking and passing through the town, Jairus, or Jairus, comes and he falls at the feet of the master, and he begins to declare to Jesus, begins to beg him to come to his house to check on his dying little girl that is of the age of 12. The story shifts to this woman. Don't worry about it. I'm going to, in the in the video, in the next video, I'm going to conclude with this story about Jairus and his 12-year-old daughter. Same shifts where Jesus is on his way to Jairus' house. But there is a slight interruption. How many of you understand that Jesus is the doctor? He is the doctor in the sick room. And the thing about it is that we don't need an appointment to be seen by Dr. Jesus. My God. We don't need an appointment. And somehow Jairus heard that Jesus was coming into his city. And he knew that he wasn't going to be staying long. Excuse me, y'all. Still having issues with my allergies and my sinuses, but all is well. And so the Bible begins to speak of this woman. She had been sick, and I'm going to get to my points about this woman in just a few moments. She had been sick for 12 years of her life. 12 years of her life. Clearly, she wasn't a poor woman. Apparently, it was clear that this woman had money, that she had to be at some place in her life where she was rich. The Bible talks about this woman going from doctor to doctor, from physician to physician, trying to find out what was wrong with her and what could be done about her situation. Been to the doctors and seek for an answer and a solution. And she got nothing. The Bible says that she spent all that she had trying to get better. She spent all that she had going from doctor office to doctor office, and no one could help her. No one could identify her problem, let alone give her a solution. She spent it all up and still left in the same shape, left in the same position. And now she finds herself in a broken, leaking state of life. This woman could have gave up and said that I'm done. She recognized that she didn't have the funds any longer to see another doctor. But somehow, in some way, she heard a rumor. She heard that Jesus was going to be coming into her city, and she wanted and needed to see him. I don't know what this woman was doing before Jesus began to pass. her house. And imagine her being in a home, waiting to see if Jesus was really going to come into her city and pass by her home. Let's look a little closer at this woman. One of the first things that I noticed, and I'm sorry if you all can hear that, but we are having work done on our streets, and you can hear the vehicles working. But now let's take a closer look at this woman. This woman was nameless. Mm. She was nameless. Don't know her name. She was nameless. And oftentimes in the Bible, in the biblical times, when they did not know your name, when they didn't know your name, they would name that woman or name that man or identify her or him by their situation or by the town, the city they were in. There was another nameless woman in the Bible that was from Shunammah. They didn't tell us her name, so they called her, they identified her by the city she lived in, so they called her the Shunammite woman. As with this woman, they don't tell you or identify her by her name. They don't identify her by the city that she's in, but they identify her by her affliction. What a sad situation to be in, to have a name and yet not be addressed as your birth name, but you addressed by your situation, your affliction. They called this woman the woman with the issue of blood. So, number one, she is nameless. We don't know her name. Number two, they identify her by her affliction in her body. Number three, this woman was considered to be unclean. She was considered to be unclean because she was making blood while losing it. This woman began to make so much blood that it began to pour out of her body and began to stain her clothes. She was considered unclean. She was considered an unclean woman. Number four, she should have been put in a place of exile. She was supposed to be put away and locked up in a place separated from society and civilians. Woman trying to make. She looked everywhere and searched everywhere that she could to get herself some help. She found out